Hey home artists, this is Miss Black, and I just wanted to go over a few things if you are looking to develop your craft a little bit better and do the kinds of things that artists do when they are practicing and learning how to be an artist. So the first one that I wanted to talk to you about is making a color wheel. So if you're painting, even drawing, things like that, then you're going to want to understand color. And the best way to understand color is to create a color wheel. And so what I would suggest is starting off with the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. But what I'm going to do is actually just take something that I can trace, and I am going to trace that on a piece of paper with a pencil. I'm going to do that. Hold on. Okay. So I've got a circle, and I'm going to do a color wheel and also a value scale on this paper, but I'll talk about the value scale after we do the color wheel. So also what you're going to want to do is take something that you can use as a straight edge and draw lines. So actually I'm not going to do it from top to bottom. I'm actually going to kind of go from the side here. What I want to do, actually, just let me explain this a little bit better. What I want to do is divide this into thirds. So the best way to do that is to use, it's kind of like the letter Y. So I'm not going to go all the way through the middle here. What I'm actually going to do is draw a line from one of the edges to the middle of the circle. And then from that middle, I'm going to branch off like the letter Y. And that'll divide it into thirds. Okay, and then the next thing you're going to want to do is divide those thirds into halves. And that'll divide it into sixths. Here's about half right here. And probably about right here. And I'm just using actually just like a bookmark to make a straight edge. So you can really use a lot of different things for those types of things. Okay, so I'm going to start off with, I'm actually going to be using some paints for this. So I've got red, but I'm not going to use my orange or my green or my purple. I'm actually going to make those colors with my primary color. So I'm just going to kind of flip these out and only use these primary colors to make my other colors. Okay, so for this you're going to need a brush, paints, and water, or if you're using marker or crayons, you can just use a red, yellow, and blue crayon or marker, and then you can mix in between. Painting I find is a little bit easier for this type of task, but it's also possible for these other things, and I can show you those with colored pencil and crayon after this. So also what I like to use is a palette so that I can mix colors on here before, but if you want to mix directly onto the paper, you're also it's also easy to do that as well. So what I'm going to do is choose one of these triangles to make my red. Okay, so I'll paint this one red. How about? And I think that this red actually looks a little pink. So I'm going to add a little bit more water and see if I can make it a little darker. Yeah, there we go. That's a little better. Okay, so there's my red. And because I don't want to mix yet, I want to make sure that I'm using a clean brush. So I'm going to clean my brush. And now I'm going to choose another triangle to make a different color. So I'm going to, let's start with yellow next. Make it about the same thickness of paint if you're using paint, watercolors. And I guess I'll just do this one. Fill that in. And actually, this is something that artists do. I know this is exactly what I did when I first started being really serious about being an artist. So this is a really good exercise, especially if you're really serious about being an artist. So here's my next one. And you want to make sure whatever triangles you choose, you leave a space in between so that you can make the secondary color in that one, which is the mixture of the two that surround it. So this will be my blue. I need more water. A little more paint. And what you're going to want to do is actually wait for these to dry completely if you're using watercolor. And the reason for that is if you start putting wet paint next to it, chances are that those colors are going to bleed into it. So I'm going to let that dry. And while I'm letting that dry, how about I show you a different way? So I'm going to set this aside while I'm waiting for that to dry, and I'll grab some crayons. So I'm going to use my primary colors. See if I can find a red. All right, well, here's a yellow. Here's a red. Make sure it's red. Yep, red, and then a blue. That's purple. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell the difference from just looking at the wax. Okay, so while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to draw another circle. And maybe I'll just make a smaller one. So I'll just trace the inside of this. And think about dividing it into thirds. And then dividing those thirds into halves. So there's half, there's half, and there's half. Right there. Still drying on that, so I will keep waiting. And then I'm just going to choose ones to color in with my crayon. And it's interesting, this is actually kind of a fun exercise to do and experiment with whatever medium or whatever you're coloring with. That's what a medium is that you want to use. So you could do it with crayons, colored pencils, markers, paints obviously, whatever you want to try, as long as it's got color. Here's my blue. And then yellow. Okay. Excuse me. So, still waiting for those to dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and mix these. So whatever one you're going to try and mix, it's going to be the two that border it. So here's my blank one. I'm going to mix blue and red right here. Or right here I'm going to mix blue and yellow. Or right here I'm going to mix red and yellow. So just as a tip, I'm going to actually choose the color that is lighter of the two to start with if you're using crayon. And it turns out to be, it turns out better this way for some reason. I just kind of discovered this. So I'm going to start with red because red is a little lighter than blue. And I'm going to color this in. And then I'm going to put my blue on top of it, and it should make a new color. See? And if you notice, hey, it doesn't really look as purple as I want, just keep adding the colors together, and it will make that color. So here's purple. Maybe needs another layer of blue. Okay, now it looks purple. Okay, out of these two, think about which one is the lightest. Okay, probably yellow, right? So I'm going to color this in yellow first. Then I'm going to add blue on top. It should turn a new color. Now it looks mostly blue here, so what I'm going to do is add more yellow so it turns into that green color. I do notice it looking a little green, but I want to make it pop more and make it look more green, so I'm going to add more of the colors to make that happen. Yep, I can totally see this green coming through now. Okay, we got a blue, we got a purple, we got a green, and then now we're going to mix these two colors. We're going to start with the lightest of the two, which is going to be yellow again. Color that in, and then add red on top of it, and it'll make a new color. Okay, kind of looks orange, but it looks like it also needs more yellow because it looks dominantly red. So I'm going to add more yellow. And what's going to happen is that yellow wax is really mixing with the red wax and creating this new orange color. Maybe a little more red. See? And I didn't actually use any other colors but my primary colors, and we still made this awesome color wheel. Okay, these look like they're going to be dry enough. So what I'm going to do is show you this through paint. So I'm going to use my palette for this. Okay, once again, I'm going to start with the lightest color. So I'll start with a yellow because I'm going to make one right here. So here's yellow. Okay, but I can't grab the blue with my dirty brush. So make sure you clean your brush before you grab another color. And it's going to create that green color. Okay. Maybe it needs a little more yellow. So I'm going to clean my brush, especially grabbing yellow because yellow is so light. Even the slightest bit of color can kind of tweak it a little bit. So keep that in mind. Okay, I've got this awesome green color, and I didn't use my actual green paints. I made it. And it really looks green. And it's so fun to see what colors you can make. Okay, so these are primary colors. Oh, sorry. These are primary colors. This is a secondary color. And if you were to mix in between, let's say you were to cut these in half again, which you can try at home, then those in the middle would be intermediate colors, I think, or yeah, I think intermediate colors, or another word for it is tertiary colors. So it's like a blue-green or a yellow-green. So I would actually suggest playing with that. It's really fun to do. Okay, my next color will be red and yellow. And we learned that that makes orange, if you didn't already know, which I'm sure you already knew. Okay, so I'm starting with the lighter color, gonna grab my new color red, and it's gonna make that orange. But it looks red dominant, so I'm gonna add more yellow, because I'm not trying to make a tertiary color like we just talked about. I'm trying to make a secondary color. I'm gonna grab more yellow and make it this awesome secondary orange. Right here, I'll paint that right there. Got this orange. This is an awesome orange color. And I find that the colors you make sometimes have better qualities than the actual paints. Oh, and I don't know if you can see this, but because I used, excuse me, because I put a lot of water here and there was some here, it's starting to bleed. So that's why I suggested waiting for the whole thing to dry. If that ends up happening, it's not a big deal. The main thing is I wanted you to see how colors mix and how you can do that on your own for your own projects. But what I'm going to do, because it's starting to bother me, is I'm just going to take a tissue and pick up some of that green. And I'll fix it once it's dry. Okay, so now I'm going to make red and blue. And the lighter color is red. So I'm going to grab some red, make a new color over here, clean my brush, add some blue. And we learned that red and blue make purple. Okay, that looks blue dominant. I've made a tertiary color again, which is blue purple. So what I want to do is make it a secondary color. I'm going to add more red. And it's going to make that purple color. Great. Okay, so making my own colors. Not using the ones from the package, which the package ones are fine. They're great colors to use as a tool, especially for making those tertiary colors. But I really just love the quality that making your own colors sort of makes. I think this is dry enough for me to fix it. There we go. That's better. All right. So we did it with paint. We did it with crayon. You can try it with other things at home if you would like. Definitely make sure you have time to play with these different things. Playing in art is just the best thing, I think. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to do for this video is show you what a value scale is. And a value scale doesn't have to do with color. It's just, well, it could have to do with color. It just has to do with light and dark. And let me just go get you a little picture to look at so you can really understand this. So you can really make a value scale with, I'm just going to set this aside, with any color. I'm just going to do it with my pencil, so it's going to look more like this. But you can really do it with any color. If you see right here, it's done with this teal color. Okay, and then here's some examples of different, like monochromatic. So monochromatic, if you look at the word monochromatic, mono means one color or just one, and then chrome means color. So when you hear the word monochromatic, whoops, I know how to spell, I promise. When you see this word monochromatic, it just means that it's all one color, but it probably has different values of that color. So when I say different values, it's either a darker version of that color or a lighter version of that color. Okay, so this is monochromatic. This has just, it's probably pencil, but just black and white. This is monochromatic. It's all purple. Okay, and then these are other examples of that. So what we're going to do for this part is just make a value scale. So I'm going to suggest drawing a line and then a line underneath it that's parallel with it so it doesn't touch or cross over. And then I'm going to just sort of make a box. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is start dividing these into different squares. So I'm going to divide this in half. Then I'm going to divide these in half. Then I'm going to divide all of these in half. And most of the time I start with dark, and I think that's what most people do. Oh, I did not divide that very well. Let me fix that. That looks a little better. Okay. So these don't have to be completely even. Mine aren't completely even. But what I want you to think about is dark to light, just like this is here. So this one is going to be as dark as your pencil can get, or whatever you're using. Doesn't have to be pencil. And then this one right here is not going to have any pencil in it at all. And as you go along, it's just going to get either lighter, or if you start from here, it's going to get darker. But what I like to start with is actually my darkest dark. So I'm going to make this as dark as this pencil can go. Sorry, this is quite the long video, but I did want to explain some of this stuff for you at home. Okay, and I still see some little white spaces, so I'm going to just fill all of that in as much as I can. Okay, that's probably as much as I can do. And then this is going to be my lightest light. So at this point, you're going to decide where you want to start from. You could start from the right. I like to start from the left because I'm right-handed. And so if I start from the left, that means I'm not smudging as I go. So if I started from here, I might smudge it. But you can start wherever you want. So this next one is going to be lighter than this, but darker than the next one that would be after it. And if you want to skip past till the end to kind of just see the finished thing, if you don't have time to watch me do this, that's fine. The idea is that you're practicing this. Okay, so the next one is going to be lighter than this one, but darker than the next one after it. So what I'm doing is I'm not pushing as hard with the pencil as I did with the previous square. Okay, and you can kind of see it's starting to get lighter. Next one's going to be lighter. Okay, and then even lighter. So I'm putting even less pressure down. You know, I'm going to do that and then I'm going to erase this because I think it'll look better. Even lighter. Less pressure. I might even see more white spaces in between lines. And then this is like as light as I can go before the white one. Okay, so there is a value scale. And if you feel like you need to tweak some of the squares, which I do, I feel like I'm going to need to maybe add some value here. Oh,
good morning,
sorry.
Everyone. So happy to see you all on this beautiful Friday. Just a little heads up, Leandra and I are working on our technology plan, and we are putting in for our TSA.
Maybe a little bit more here.
I know many of you fourth, fifth, and
Yeah, that's the idea. I'm going to just let this announcement go, but I hope that you try this at home and send me your work. Thanks, you guys. Have fun.